Hello, beloveds. Welcome to another Leonine stream. This one is being recorded also in the beautiful Kali-fornia grid of my home base, hometown for this cycle. And I wanted to actually invite you into this transmission with a little bit of the ceremonial piece. So I am going to speak a lot about fire. I'm going to speak a lot about time and calendar systems and also the upgrades in how we are experiencing reality, but specifically in relation to time. So I have a candle and I have an hourglass, which I just bought last week. And the hourglass is literally that. It is 1 hour's worth of sand. And if any of you are fans of the Aladdin movie, when Jafar at the end of the film is in his like sorcerer mode and he's trying to be, the mostest, he uses his power to trap Jasmine inside of a giant hourglass. So when I saw this, I was like, there's something to this, to telling time in this way. And I'm going to start using it more intentionally. And it's going to start with this podcast. So I'm going to try not to go past the hour. I'm going to flip the sand right now so we can begin this transmission while I also light a green candle for us. As we will be speaking about the element of fire, the year of fire, the solar eclipse that just passed, as well as its counterpart, the lunar eclipse that is imminent, that is 7 days away. By the time you're listening to this, it might be even closer, but it is 7 days away from the day I am recording. And as I usually do, I make invocations when I light candles, when I open a space with the elements, especially one of the elements that is quite tangible, like we can't quite touch air, and we, water even slips through our fingers, but fire, if you stick your finger in fire, even if you get close to the fireplace, the candle, right? The stove, you just might get burned. It's something that is very easily felt, even in the approach, before you even touch the flame. Have you ever held your hand above a flame, for instance, and almost, doesn't even matter how far away your hand is. You hold it there long enough and you can feel the activation of fire. You can feel the burn. You can feel the heat, and it will start to get uncomfortable. This is already the transmission flowing. This is going to be a transmission of codes of fire. Whereas the last podcast that I shared was very watery in nature, was very much coming out of that crazy, powerful, I would say even life-changing full moon that we had. I am fully in the fire element now as the principal element for my work in the coming year. And I'm going to explain to you why. It doesn't mean that I'm, throwing other elements out the window. It just means something truly was ignited in me on the solar eclipse, which coincided with the new Chinese sign and element for our year of the next 13 months, because Chinese astrology doesn't adhere to January, February, March. They go by moons, and there's 13 months for them. And so we're going to actually take a moment and ceremonially invoke together this new year in the energy of Fire Horse. Other names for this year you could, or other tones or themes for this year, and this is just coming from my own heart knowing, because I was wrapping up the serpent year very, very intentionally, ceremonially, in reflection, in the dark, in silence, also through music, not just silence, also through music, also by creating kind of playlists that were already holding this energy of the year that we were about to cross into. Because if you've heard me speak about the arc of dragon and serpent years back to back in Chinese astrology, so that would be the last 2 years before Fire Horse, they were in the element of wood. And wood is a very, very, very interesting element. It's not the earth element, because there's a separate element in Chinese astrology that is earth. It is more like the trees. It is more like the roots. It's more like the mycelial network underneath the soil even. This is how I experienced it, and this is how I am sharing it. But I'm sure you also have your own pings about what the last 2 years have been like for you, what the major themes were. If it was anything like me, there was a lot of decomposition. So here comes the soil energy, right? Underneath the soil, the earthworms, the getting down and dirty with the earth, getting into it, right? Getting into the darkness, seeing the places that we needed to see. Quite away from the world, actually. Quite away from the light, even. And I'm not talking about like we transformed into these, dark and evil beings. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm referring to the fact that we chose the underworld journey, which is really the inner world journey. So it's the journey of the serpent. It's the realm of the serpent in the traditions of many of my ancestors. The Maya, I've talked about this before. 3 realms. The underworld realm is the realm dominated, ruled by serpent, snake, which is where we've been up until the night before, up until the day of Chinese Fire Horse year. Because there was also kind of this interesting, I would say like a blending, a fusion of my Maya arc with this Chinese arc, because I live my life by Maya time. And Maya time has been around for, I mean, that humans have been talking about it at least, or documenting it. We're going around like 6,000 years. In fact, it came from the Olmec civilization first, which is known as the mother civilization of Mesoamerica. Many other indigenous peoples that we know of later would have either stemmed from this civilization, this mother civilization, or they would have sprouted in their own right and then referenced this civilization. Like a tree, much like a tree. You know how sometimes a tree, a mother tree, right, throws its seeds with the wind, with the birds, even with humans, right, planting new little versions of that mother tree nearby, maybe far away even, but those other little sproutlets still have connection, still have memory and very, very strong ties, purpose, bonds, but these are natural, these are organic, these are beautiful earth bonds, contracts. And whether or not that tree gets to be as giant, as vibrant, as lush as its mother tree, it still contains the mother frequency, the mother knowledge, the mother wisdom within its little stem and its little leaves and its first little buds when it starts to flower and prepare eventually to throw its own seeds at some point. And it's interesting because the only card I have in the space right now is called Initiation, and it happens to be a giant tree with 13, they look like candles, and I know that the description mentioned Cinnabar. So Cinnabar is connected to a lot of ancient peoples. It's definitely connected to the Mayans. It would have been bark that would have made possible the color, the pigment color red for paint, for jewelry, for even structures, buildings, all of this. So this tree shows the branches, shows the roots going into the earth, and there's 13 ceremonial candles around the tree. This to me is signaling that we are about to really move into a 13-month proper year. The Chinese astrology will also be catching up with the 13 by moving into a system with 13 animals instead of 12. So I'm going to pull up really quick the Chinese calendar system that will tell us, let's just go back in time a little bit. Let's go back from Fire Horse year, began on the 17th of this year, 2026, and it will go until February 5th, 2027. And if we go back 2 years, we will have Snake year and Dragon year, both in the energy element of wood, associated with the trees, like I've been saying. Past that, if we go back the 2 years prior to that, would be Rabbit and then Tiger further back, and those are both in the element of water. Further back, we would go Ox and then Rat. Those two were in the element of metal. And I'm actually going to highlight 2020, Metal Rat, because this is the year that I started working with the Chinese calendar. I remember buying a little metal rat coming out of my ayahuasca ceremonies, my wachuma ceremonies, my beautiful time in the jungle in outside of Tarapoto, Peru. Very, very clean, very, very purged, very stripped down. I'm hearing stripped naked. I even had my luggage never arrived to Peru with me in time for me to take it to the jungle with me. So all I had was a very small carry-on that had like the very basics. I had to borrow clothes from people. I had to wear my bathing suit a lot under just like a t-shirt that I kept wearing or a dress that I kept wearing over and over. And yet we were in the most magical location on this Red River. I've talked about this river before. I'm not going to get into it deeply now, but there is this highlighting of 2020, the Metal Rat year, because that really kicked off the timestamp for what we've been experiencing up until now. there's kind of these marking years. 2020 is one of them. You might know why I'm harping on this particular year, because of world events that affected literally every human, every being on the planet. And I remember that I had this little metal rat on my altar when I arrived to Cusco. Cusco is the hub that you fly to from any major city, or you bus in, but you have to go over many mountains if you're going to get there by car or bus. And you have to go up to nearly 11,000 feet is the altitude of Cusco. And what happens when you go from zero, practically zero altitude to 11,000? Well, you're going to get headaches. Your body has to adjust. Your lungs have to adjust to the air quality. The way it's going to pass into your body is going to be different. And you're going to feel tired a lot. And you might get motion sickness and, throw up a lot, or just pass out and sleep for a couple of days to adjust to the altitude. But I will add to this, because this was my second time in Cusco. I had been there 6 years prior. In 2014 was the first time I went to Peru. And I had been to Cusco for a very quick journey, like 3 or 4 days. And so you take altitude sickness pills when you get on the plane so that hopefully it doesn't hit you as bad. And yeah, it was a little bit more muted, the experience of feeling ill that time. But now, coming out of the jungle and being extra sensitive, being extra, like all systems are ready to go, ready to receive, ready to connect, ready to remember. It's a full reset when you have the chance to experience ayahuasca in her proper form, with a proper shaman, with a proper container, where people are not intending malicious, literally soul-sucking, ritual, which is what happens with a lot of these plant medicine ceremonies across the board, beyond the Americas, right? I'm talking about worldwide, but especially in the realm of Amazonian plants. They've been well known since only about the 70s by foreigners. And these first foreigners in the 70s that started arriving were the ones that brought more foreigners. So it was kind of like a plague. Plague on both your houses. The plague was that they couldn't just experience what they experienced and then not, promote it and make a business out of it and continue to extract and take from the jungle, which is what pretty much happened, which is why we're at the place where we're at today, where I'm hearing the plants are retaliating. That's one way of looking at it, and I'm going to honor that wanted to stream through. I'm sure there's some plants that really are retaliating, and they're like, we're going to F you up while you are in ceremony, because you didn't come here with the right intention. You didn't come here with your discernment level high. You came here naive, and you came here with people that don't honor us or our land or the peoples that are guardians of our medicines, of our spirits. We're more than medicine to the guardians in these lands. We're family. We're the flora, and we're the tree collective. And these are separate, flora and the tree collective. And I'm going to throw in the fauna in here as well, the animal kingdom, because this is going to really rock your world when I circle back around to the Trecena, the Maya time that we are passing through right now. But I'm going to leave that. Let's stay in the jungle frequencies for now. So some of the plants retaliate, and some of the plants don't have the free will, and it's up to those holding ritual and ceremony and their intentions and the discernment and the boundaries of the people that come and experience the plant, the purity that they come with. But really it's about their boundaries. And some and most actually don't come fully aware of what's possible with the wrong facilitators, with the self-serving facilitators, shamans, Western or native to these lands, doesn't matter. And again, not exclusive to this part of the world. This happens everywhere with medicines from the earth, the span of the earth. We're talking every continent, every culture that has maintained ancient ways of working with plants, and even more modern ways of working with ancient plant systems and rituals and healing, but for the time that we're in now, with respect, with love, with honor. It's very, very, very important in the fire horse year that we allow the fires to purify. In Spanish, it's like purgar. It's like purge. To purify and purge. Purificar y purgar. I like the sound codes in that. Purificar y purgar. The fires are going to remove the tangled webs, stories, intentions of all of these self-proclaimed people that believe they need to dominate and be above others in order to receive the light of God, in order to receive life force energy. So they position themselves above vulnerable people, curious people, and in some instances kind of like deer in the headlights, like very pure but naive, as I said before, people. They position themselves above you. They siphon your energy. They hijack your life through these rituals, plant ceremonies. I could go on and on and on. This is not the first time I have talked about this. But as my podcast went down in its own tower moment, because it wanted to transform into something else, become something new, as I've become different, new, constantly rebirthing myself on this planet, it's important to bring these things up again when they are loud in the field. And I mentioned that I went offline for 60 days, I think it was. No, 6 weeks. 6 weeks, so 45 days or so. From the socials, and that created this spaciousness to start to see the things that were not right. They were not kosher in my body. There was dependencies, there were tendencies, there were habits that I was noticing about myself, and I was like, is this even me? Is this even me? How many times do we ask ourselves questions like that? Sometimes when we're in partnership, for instance, and we start to, I don't know, blow up emotionally, and then we realize, is this even mine? Or is it that my partner can't express his emotions, and so I took them on, and now it felt like too much, so here I am exploding them in tears or in rage or in anger or whatever it is. This is just an example, but this can happen in any type of relationship, especially a magical relationship, especially a relationship where somebody is claiming to hold space for you, or various people are claiming to hold space for you, to go through a process. Ayahuasca is the death vine. The process is death and transformation. But what happens on the other side of that death and transformation is very much up to every other thing that has been at play. And I'm going to mention a few other plants here. Some I don't have experience with, but they want to be mentioned. So iboga, lotus, blue lotus especially, water lily, more jungle plants, brugmansia, also known as toe, datura, also known as gymweed, marijuana, the cannabis plant, tobacco, mapacho, coca, the coca leaf, I think that's where we're at for now. So, the jasmine flower is here on my altar, and I was drinking jasmine tea before I even decided to sit down and record this. So there's something about jasmine as well, like the mixing of essential oil of jasmine, but for nefarious reasons, blending it with other plants that are like sedative, they make you groggy, they make you sleepy, and then you don't know what's going on when you're in those states. So here's the Amazon creating this opening, because yesterday I actually had a massive fire ceremony. Second fire ceremony in my house, but I've basically been working with candle, fire, candle light in my room every single night since the fire horse year began. And on the big grid work day that my mom and I took to just spend the day on the Dragon Island, Catalina, near our home. You have to take a boat there. We postponed it from the day before the eclipse, which would have been the last day of Serpent Year. We postponed it because it rained that day. So we ended up getting on the boat on Friday. 4 days in to the Chinese calendar, 3 days in to the Maya solar New Year calendar. So here's where I'm going to share about the Trecena that we're currently in. We're on day 7 of the new year and the new Trecena. Kech. Kech is the deer, the king of the forest, the wild, the king of the wild, the stag. It's also connected to horse energy, like the stallion, the mustang, the Arabian horse, like these very free, very wild, untamed, untrained horses. The ones that run wild with life force energy. The ones that pull chariots are in the field this year as well, because horses can propel us forward. They hold this energy of fast moving, right? Getting from point A to point B a lot faster than if you were just on your 2 feet. If you have 16 hooves to move you, to take you. And as we know, chariots would have been associated with royalty and people in positions of power. People that would have been seen as powerful, people to look up to, protective, frequencies, leaders. Genghis Khan wants to be known, and I mentioned him in the article on Substack as well, the part 1 of this. So he wants to be mentioned again. So yes, the Mongolian people are horse people, and there's going to be some very interesting threads that come up this year, because you're going to see that I'm not going to be talking about all these parts of the world, you know, like I'm an expert on every single part of the world. But if I have a connection, and if this connection has been getting stronger, I'm also not going to shy away from talking about these things just because I'm not Mongolian blooded, or just because, you know, I'm not a shaman from Mongolia or whatever. But it will always be with respect. It will always be with honor to the fact that these beings on the other side, or in case of the plants, the beings on our planet that are our kin, our family, that want to channel these messages, that want to channel these frequencies to help us see the bigger picture, that we're headed towards a world of fusion. A world of fusion. There's already a world of fusion inside of your own waters, inside of your blood. Your bloodlines are proof that nobody is pure-blooded on this planet. Not even in the Amazon, not even in Mongolia, or other obscure, very hard to get to places, or places that traditionally have, you know, kept procreating amongst a very, very small population. We're moving towards fusion. And here is where not only the year of fire horse, but the Maya calendar year that we have entered the day after solar eclipse and the Chinese fire horse celebrations was one kech. And it's the beginning of the solar calendar for the Maya. So they have many calendars. They have a lunar calendar. It's very important as well. But the solar calendar is kind of like, it's more connected to the soul. It's more connected to spiritual matters, truly. Zooming out the lens a little bit, right? It would be like your oversoul looking down at you on earth and kind of being like, turn left here, or go talk to that person, or quit that job, or dump that person, you know, like this. And even the solar calendar has its cycles, because we have a different archetype or nawal that leads each year, but we also have a different tone, a different number that cycles on the solar new year. And we started with 1, and we actually go through 1 through 13 in order. And so we just began a 13-year cycle, because we're on 1. 1 kech on solar new year means we have started a new 13-year cycle. There's a lot of 13 codes being shared as remembrance for you in this transmission. It's time to bring 13 to the forefront of your life. It's time to see all the synchronicities that involve 13. 12 characters, 12 animals in the Chinese system. We literally go from... Okay, wait, I took notes. Where are you? Okay, so we'll use the year 2000 as the example. The starting point was the year of Metal Dragon. And then we would go in order: dragon year, snake year, horse year, goat year, monkey year, rooster year, dog, pig, rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, before we get back to dragon again. But by the next time we get to dragon, the element will have changed for the dragon. And the element will have changed for all of the next animals. So in order to have every animal with every element, 12 animals, 5 elements, it's actually a 60-year cycle. So we're gonna see time a lot more in cycles. Cycles of 13, cycles of 60, even bigger than that. 13 months, 20 nawales. These types of things are gonna be louder because there's more options. There's more connection, right? Everybody has to actually find and fine-tune the connections that they have with the cosmos here on Earth. And these archetypes are just clues, they're just keys, they're just codes, but in some cases they are really powerful codes to unlock within yourself. For instance, me choosing to live by the Maya calendar and really emerge as Canil, the seed or the star Venus. I know every 20 days is a Canil day in the Maya calendar, and every 20 days I know the tone that goes with that Canil day. And every 260 days I know my Maya birthday, 7 Canil. So you start to really attune, you get more attuned to your frequency, to your codes, to the way you will move in the world in power and in grace for the benefit of all, not just because you want to be in a castle, in a skyscraper, on top of a mountain, on top of a pyramid, being whoever, like Jafar, you know, the ultimate sorcerer in the world, you know, make me the most powerful genie. Then he goes from the sorcerer to the genie, and then what happens? He gets trapped in the lamp because he was full of ego. And this is why I'm gonna start talking about things that may feel uncomfortable, bring a little laughter to it, reference, you know, whatever popular culture. I'm a 80s, 90s, 2000s kid, you know, so this is like my joy actually, to bring up stuff from the past and make it relevant now. It's very relevant that I am looking at the hourglass here next to this fire. I'm holding ceremonial transmission space for us as we receive, right? And I know I'm going all over the place, and I know I'm hopping and I'm jumping, so let's just put our hands on our heart and take some breaths. It's just frequency, it's just pieces, you know? Most people don't even listen to the whole transmission, so wherever you get to in the transmission, there's something up until that point for you. So make a note and look into that deeper. Go down that rabbit hole, right? Spiral with time in that way. So I'm glad I mentioned the spiral. The spiral, or the caracol, the conch, the shell, is how the Maya see time. Time is not flat. Time is not linear. Time is not boring. Time is actually really exciting in the system of the Maya. And for those of you that are listening that were in my Leonine Stream private Telegram group last year in October, when I took us through the 20 Nawales from a Jaguar day to a Jaguar day, So technically, we were 21 days together in this group, private group, where they received remembrance, learned about the Maya calendar, learned about the archetypes, the 20 archetypes. So they would have experienced with me every morning a transmission, a storytelling, relevant imagery, relevant sounds, you know, parts of the grid that were kind of pinging while we were also making up a unique web within this group, because we were all in different parts of the world. What were we weaving together? What were we seeding together, right? I'm the seed. So when I gather people, we are seeding. We are seeding. I'm not the only one seeding. We're all seeding. And so as we're gathered here under the Trecena of the deer, I want you to understand that the seeding that I am proposing to you today is the seeding of getting back to the wild earth knowledge, the wild earth connection. It is going to be a year of being a little bit more barefoot and a little bit more bareback. For those of you that ride horses, if you can bareback the horse comfortably, this is going to be huge for you. And for those of you that never take off your shoes, it might be a year for you to, if you're still afraid of taking off your shoes and walking in the dirt or the mud or whatever it may be, maybe get those shoes where you actually feel the earth a little bit more, because they're special barefooting shoes as a transition to eventually then yourself want to be barefoot on the ground. Because the soil is actually so magical for us. I'm not a fan of walking on cement and concrete and gravel and like places that are dirty ass cities. I've seen people, you know, claim they need to ground, so they're barefoot in like the most disgusting village in England or something. And for me, I'm like, I'll pass. But if you can be in the nettle field under the beautiful chestnut tree barefoot, like I was in England, then that's somewhere where you will really receive from the earth. You will really start to attune to the wildness, the energy of horse and deer as respective carriers for us, as respective guides. They are guides for us. How beautiful that we have animal guides to work with time. Come on, February, March, April, May, this is boring. This is beyond boring. It's like literally meant to scramble our brain and keep us asleep and keep us numb and keep us dry. Whereas the wet earth, there's an analogy here, right? Dry versus wet. Wet meaning life can actually germinate. Seeds can actually grow. Plants can actually grow. Our gardens could actually feed us with food, trees, with fruits and vegetables in our patch and all of this. So this year is going to have a lot of these tones. And it's really a beautiful invitation to see Earth in her upgrades that she's been experiencing since 2020. Year of the metal rat. So one more time, I'm going to go back to the Chinese calendar and just give you, so 2020, metal rat. 2021, we experienced the ox, the metal ox. 2022 was the water tiger. 2023 was the water rabbit. 2024, the wood dragon year. Last year, the wood snake, wood serpent year. And the next 2 years will be fuego, fire, fire horse, and then fire goat. And I think there's something to the next two animals being four-legged four-legged animals. They're animals of the, of the tangible, like I walk on the earth every single day. I run on the earth. I'm connected. I know the land. The goats can actually like guide you when you're up in the mountains or something and I don't know, you don't have food or herbs or something. The goats can actually lead the way. And then we all know horses, like I already mentioned, can take us long distances, right? They also can remember the way for us. There's something about remembrance. There's another layer of remembrance that is happening through this eclipse portal. You might be surprised, pleasantly surprised, that more of your memories from this life, childhood, dreams that you had, things you wanted to actually see come to be, not just fantasy land, like, oh, one day I wish upon a star. No, like the type of heart, fire, passion, wishes and desires that you had and you forgot or you locked away because of the harsh world or other reasons, they're gonna come up again through this year of fire, through these next 2 years of fire. And you're gonna be inspired to take actions to make them come to fruition this time. To not let anybody else stop you by taking away your attention, by distracting you, by telling you who you are, when deep down inside, all you need to do is get raw and wild and sit by the fireside and hold your personal ceremonies and gather with others who are also doing the work and be witnessed. But be witnessed, not be told who you are. There's a big difference there. A lot of people, a lot of gurus, a lot of healers, I'm doing air quotes here, a lot of spiritual whoever's are going to have a rude awakening. I heard a fall, going to have a fall, and they're going to have a rude awakening. And I've had these Kali oracle cards in my hands this whole time, because Kali is the one that is coming in with the fire for me personally this year. And I wanted to see if she had a message for all of you tuning in. Kali Ma definitely represents powerful fire energy to me. You might know there's specific festivals that are fire festivals dedicated to her. I hope to get even more intimate with her frequency this year. She first came knocking on my heart in 2022 when I started going to the desert of California, just outside of LA. The Joshua Tree area, the Salton Sea desert areas. And as a little bonus story, I was conceived in the desert out there. So even though a lot of people know me as a very strong, watery, even in my name, a very watery mama kind of frequency, a lot of people don't know my fire yet, or at least not to the extent that it will be revealed in time. And being desert born or desert conceived, and this might be for some of you who are actually born in the desert, in this life or other lives, but also drawn to the desert, who do a lot of your sacred work with desert energy. This is going to be a really powerful year for you, because fire energy is also solar energy. You could look at it as like sun fire, solar fire. So go to the deserts and hold your fire ceremonies, however that wants to look, obviously safely, but also just through the heart, the fire of the heart. right? The fire of your life force, your passions, your prayers. I'm hearing light up the sky with your prayers in the desert. Light up the spaces where the stone circles, or the ancient stones, like think of Australia, Uluru, Joshua Tree, California. There's going to be other places that come up to you. These are just the ones that are at the top of my mind right now. Namibia, the desert of Namibia, the sand dunes there, Morocco, Egypt for some of you, India, the Gobi Desert for some of you. There's a lot of desert power. There is a lot of solar fire that is coming for you in these next 2 years, and I'm here for it. We're going to get into some fire codes, and the card has already been picked, so I'm going to open the book and read a little bit of the card. This is such a beautiful card. It's come out many times for me, and I have such an affinity for the lotus, which is throughout this deck is a stunning representation of beauty. This particular card, Kamala Devi. We witness her beauty, and all struggle melts into grace upon a grateful sigh. The heart softens into her protection and radiates peace. Her presence transforms frustration into inspiration, which is the fire energy as well, the fire of inspiration. Fatigue into replenishment, and overactivity into effortless attraction. This has a lot to do with work, that last piece. Overactivity into effortless attraction. So for some of you, us, who feel pressure to put ourselves out there in a certain way and reach a lot of people and have impact, it's very, very important that you focus on the fire within and let that burn bright, and let that attract magnetically, right? Attract like bees to the pollen in the flowers. The people that need to be in our realm, in our spaces, in our extended family, in our friendships, in our communities, in our client base as well. Kamala Devi is the golden pathway of divine manifestation and peaceful contentment. She empowers your heart to receive with the same generosity, openness, and grace that you express when you give freely and joyfully. Abundant divine blessings are upon you. So, her presence reminds us not to make things more difficult for ourselves than they need to be. Sometimes the assumption of burden is necessary for our growth. At other times, growth happens when we learn to cast the burden aside, understanding that we will be able to offer so much more when not carrying another on our backs, so to speak. And this another, carrying another on your back, it has a lot to do with those people siphoning your energy that I already mentioned at the beginning of this transmission. Because they cannot find their own fire, their fire has gone completely out or completely dimmed, and they think it's easier to take your fire and many people's fires. And for the most part, they serve somebody else. So everything that they take, it's like a chain, right? And this chain is going to be broken through love, through passion, through fire. This year, next year, the remaining years of this decade until 2030. All right, that's all I want to read about that card, because these are lengthy descriptions, but the energy is beauty. The energy is the lotus as the balancing energy to all of this fire. As you know, the lotus is a water flower, is a water coded being, powerful in her own right. And the Maya have the water lily, Imosh, which is one of the archetypes, one of the nahuales of the 20. But it's also the water, it's also relationships. But it is the water lily as well. So you're going to see that actually later this year, I will be bringing forth a lot more work that has been already completed in the Mayan lands over the last decade, but really culminating in the dragon year. And these transmissions are in line with all that I've been speaking of today. There are strong lotus codes, very strong beauty codes, codes of the feminine, codes of the future feminine too. The feminine that's still, part of your dream vision, that version of you that gets to feel certain things on this planet because you are a woman and because you choose beauty and grace and love and honoring the self, loving your sisters, loving your mothers. Doesn't have to be birth mothers or birth sisters. I mean, I'm talking about love from the level of soul. So there's a very strong calibration in this transmission of healing the feminine, the wounds of the feminine. And I will share on the Substack version of this transmission the 2 cards that are connected to this, that are here on the altar, Sisters Healing and Kamala Devi with the lotus, and also the image of that beautiful tree surrounded by the 13 flames, the card of initiation. So you can check the Substack link in the description, and all of my links are there for your perusal, for you to book in when it feels true for you. I have a very exciting year planned in my head, but as you know, we like to flow because things are constantly shifting and changing. And one of the most recent shifts was actually the fact that I did not hold a solar eclipse ceremony publicly on Zoom like I was planning to. And it has shifted to the lunar date of 3/3. The lunar eclipse in the constellation of Leo is on March 3rd, on Tuesday. It's going to be a ceremony involving cacao, most likely lotus. We'll see if anything else comes up, but it is going to be more of the yin, more of the lunar, more of the balancing energy of that very, very fiery solar eclipse that really got the fire ignited in all of us. And this lunar eclipse, because it has to do with the moon, it's actually the energy of completing the portal. Where the solar eclipse was the sun and it opened the portal, the lunar eclipse is closing it. So what we do on the lunar eclipse is going to be a really powerful closure ceremony. It will be led by the Leonine stream and myself, and you are very welcome to come to experience what it is like to be held in sacred space where I'm not piggybacking on your life force. And we're going to honor the South Node in Leo, because it's a lunar eclipse in Leo. The South Node is about where we've been in the past. It's collective knowledge, collective experience. whereas the solar eclipse was future, and it was aligned with the north node, Aquarius. We're going to the other side of the axis now, and we're focusing on Leo, the lion, the lioness, the leonine. So this is why the energy got shifted, part of why it got shifted, because these are the realms that have come in for me to step forward and teach and lead and hold space for. There are a lot of beings that need to fully embrace the aspects of them that are leonine, the fact that they shapeshift, the fact that we see the world in a different way, and we will move on the earth in a different way. Most of us already have been, but even more so going forward. If Kech, the deer, is the king of the forest, Leo, the lion, is the king of the jungle, the king of Africa, the king of the Serengeti. This is not a frequency to take lightly. This is a frequency to embrace. This is a frequency to let wrap you up in a royal garb. Oh, the hourglass just, oh no, it's still going. It's got like maybe a minute or two left. That's so cool. I looked down and it was about to finish, so I'm getting to watch it complete. And there we go. Wow, that was really, I don't even know what made me look down. That was so cool. Right as I was passionately saying that Leo is the royal frequency. So come and experience some royal frequencies with me, 4 to 6 p.m. California time. Everything is already on the website. You can just go ahead and book in and come be with the Leonine stream, the community of Leonines that are also humans right now. And let's get this fire horse year started in just beautiful space, beautiful vision, because New Year's, they really are about making visions eventually become realities. So we're going to focus more on the vision, and we're going to pull it up from the lunar part of you, right? We're going to pull it up from your waters. The moon represents the interior realm. So there might actually be more moments of introspection and silence even, perhaps, in this ceremony. We'll see. But there will definitely be a guided shamanic journey by me. And I already have something very beautiful planned that I was going to do on the solar eclipse anyways for you, but it's so much more juicy for this one. So that's all I wanted to touch upon for today. I hope it has been, I don't know, what you needed, what you wanted. One more little message coming from the essential oil that I brought here. I haven't used it today. I think I'm going to save it, but it wants to be mentioned. The redwood mist essential oil is a combination of steam distilled trees from Northern California. So it's actually a blend of Douglas fir oil, the bay laurel tree oil, and the California redwood oil. So these three trees and this beautiful essential oil, the redwood mist blend, is the oil that I will be using throughout the year. It's the oil that wants to be used for fire horse year more than any other oils. Couple of years ago, I did this on one of the transmissions for the dragon year. That year, I remember very clearly that lemon balm was the oil for the year for the dragons. And this is the oil for this year for us. So don't be surprised if you join in And there's definitely these beautiful tree spirits that are moving through you, initiating you as we continue to weave, as we continue to expand and evolve as beings that are part of this greater mama tree that is the tree of life. And that will have to be a little teaser for another time, another transmission on all that has happened with the trees and me in the last few months that will involve all of you as well. I'm sending you guys so much love. I'm going to stay in the candlelight. The candle's burning a little bit longer than the hourglass. And I'm going to maybe play some music and move my hips because it's the day of the spine in Maya time today. 7 Ah, a day of truly feeling like I have also vision and clarity of what this year is going to be for myself, but also for us, because I'm very, very focused on growing this community this year, on those of you that have been watching and have been waiting to dip your toes in, right? Or to walk the fire. The fire, jump the fire, walk the fire. There's lots of traditions that do that as form of initiation or purification. So those of you that are ready to hop on over the fire onto this side this year, please do follow along. All of the links are in the bio, in the description of this video, in the description of the Substack. And let's go. Let's ride. I love you all. But you already knew that.